If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
What's going on? Happy summer, bench warmers. We are officially closer to the end of this year than we are to the beginning of it. Closer to 2050 than 2025. I saw that going around social media the other day, so that's kind of a strange thought.
2000, you mean? But yeah,
2000.
Yes.
I screwed it up yesterday when I said it too, but no, we're closer to 2050 than we are to 2000 as of now. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of good things that we need to talk about. And that is what we're going to kick things up. And he goes back from Raleigh. He decided to come back from the beautiful beaches, the gorgeous weather, I'm sure. But this is what he is coming back with.
I wouldn't say Raleigh. Charlotte was beautiful. Charlotte is gorgeous, man. It's absolutely gorgeous. But boy, oh boy, is it nice to be home. I'll tell you what.
Well, this is the energy that was out there in Carolina. So if you missed the PLL weekend, this is what was happening. The Redwoods are 2-0. California Redwoods are 2-0. That's a lot of energy on the sidelines. It seems like a different feel, but I think I want to start off with that. How was this weekend in Carolina, and how good does it feel as opposed to last year? Obviously, we talked about it at nauseum last summer, but this year being 2-0, right in the mix of things, starting things out on a good foot to where if you have a little bit of a letdown at any point in the season, you can rally, you can regroup, but you're 2-0 and you're sitting in a really good spot. That's 2 conference wins on top of being just 2-0 in the standings.
Well, let's put it this way. Last year, we had 3 wins in total. And we are through 2 weeks of the season up 2-0 with a, by the way, +9 goal differential, which is massive. Absolutely massive for going for the rest of the year. Like that's a massive standing point to push you towards possibly getting that first round bye, or possibly getting a higher seed and only having to win 2 games to win the PLL championship as opposed to 3 and getting in. Or if you falter late in the season, you can use that to obviously help you stay in the playoffs as opposed to getting out. And man, the boys are buzzing is all I'll say. The boys are absolutely buzzing. Dance parties in the locker room. Boys are having fun. Went out to a country bar after the game. One thing our head coach AK has been preaching is like, not only do you win the game, you win the post game. And when and I'll tell you what, we have won the post game back-to-back weeks also. So it has been, the vibes have been absolutely high and incredible. But yeah, the vibes on the sideline, I'm the personal hype boy for everything. I make sure the refs know that that's a 2-point goal. I make sure the refs know that's a reset in the shot clock. I make sure our boys know when Chris Cav is going in between the legs that the whole stadium that were like, oh, and that were all rooting on the Chaos knew how filthy that was. It's an awesome time. Obviously, we played 2 Western Conference opponents, which helps us a lot going forward. And now we get to play our 3rd straight one this weekend when we play the Archers, the reigning champs. So it's been a great start to the season. I'll tell you what, you can probably hear it in my voice how fucking gone it is already, because in the video Jimmy showed, my voice is already cracking, and I can start to feel it already losing its steam here. So I'll do my best. If you hear me coughing throughout the show, you'll know why.
It happens to the best of us. I thought you had coach's voice. I thought those little guys would have had you yelling enough to where your voice was calloused. No, this last weekend in Charlotte, you guys picked up the win on Saturday, 16-10. Other game that happened on Saturday, the Archers, which is the opponent this upcoming week, lost 9-8 to Boston on the ABC game. So out now that Utah has gone down, they've lost a game. I know Boston is a very strong franchise. It's a strong kind of, as much of a tradition as you can have in the PLL. Boston kind of does have it, and it kind of carries over from the old league too. But in that matchup, what are the things that maybe is different about Utah this year? Where are the soft points that you can maybe attack this team? And because the Archers have been, it's not just losing and they're the champions. It's been a long time since the Redwoods have beaten the Archers in the PLL season.
Oh, they've had our number the last 2 years, and my good buddy PK, who's the liaison over there, has reminded me how we haven't beat them since I've literally we've both joined the league, and it's been 3 years now. I'm not going to reveal anything because I'm not in the game plan. I don't sit here and watch film like they do. I just do all the back end stuff. But in terms of like what the Archers have shown, obviously they're banged up. They've had injuries that they've been dealing with all season long. Possibility that a D2 goalie steps in net this week. It's because their number one goalie has been injured, so we'll see if that affects the way they play. But they're still one of the most high-powered offenses in the league and probably the most menacing defense you'll ever see. They have three dudes that are 6'3" plus, Warren Jeffrey, Graham Hossack, and now first-round pick Brandon Lavelle that can guard everybody on ball and are great off-ball defenders that lay the wood. So one thing that we're trying to preach on is like when you play the Redwoods, you'll remember it because the last couple of years it has not been like that. You want to play us and you want to layup team like us, and the Archers have been that team that nobody wants to play because of how hard they play and how brutal a win even is if you get a win over them. So we're trying to flip that script this week, and I'm pretty confident in the boys, and I'm excited to see what happens.
With at least the way that the Redwoods have been scoring, you feel like you got a puncher's chance. That's all you asked for. On the other games that happened this past weekend,
we had the most shots in major lacrosse history. Like pro lacrosse.
Things happen when you put the ball on net.
And we faced a goalie in Blaze Reardon who had 25 saves, the most in a game, 25 saves. And obviously, for those that don't watch hockey or are big hockey fans, 25 saves, you're like, that's not a lot. Goalies, if you have 12 plus saves, is a great game. You have 15 plus saves, you're on a heater. You have 25 plus saves, you just stole a game. Like it was an insane feat, and we put up 15 goals or 16 goals, on number one goalie in the world. And boy, oh boy, was it a all-around effort, and the guys are fine.
The other games that happened, the Water Dogs beat the Whip Snakes 16-12, and the Chaos take down the Outlaws. So now the Outlaws, I believe they're winless on the young season. That's not necessarily what we're looking for, but that does help when you're looking at the way that these standings work. I believe it's one team from each conference that doesn't make the playoffs. Is that still?
That's correct.
So as long as you have a team that's struggling a little bit more than you or struggles to put it together a little bit more than you, that also isn't the worst thing to have happen. But with Denver, there's a lot of hype. They got a lot of signings in the offseason. What are the Outlaws? How are the Outlaws going to overcome their zero in the win column and as we look to Philadelphia this upcoming week? They are going to be taking on the Water Dogs on Saturday in the very last game. So they got a lot of time to think about it. But what can Denver do to get out of the rut?
Well, I mean, it is very beneficial when you're the second game of the back-to-back for the home team, and that's where the Outlaws are sitting at right now. But the Outlaws, they've made some moves in this 2-week span already, right? They signed Jared Bernhardt, who was the Tewaaraton winner in 2021, who was playing football. We talked about last week. Signed him this past week, and he played this weekend, didn't record a point. Then they just traded Sam Hanley, their 4th overall pick 2 years ago, to us, who we just picked up for a 3rd-round pick. So lots of movement coming around, and they have a goalie, Noah McElroy, that has not had a great start to the year. Well, they got drafted the number one goalie in the draft class this past year, in Logan McNaney, who made the NCAA finals 4 years in a row as the starting goaltender for Maryland. And he's a guy that's waiting in the reins, and we'll see if the Outlaws make that decision of moving forward. But it's a tough decision when you pull a goalie because there's really no going back, especially when you go to a rookie. It's like you have to be confident that this is the decision the rest of the year because when you replace a guy that's been with the team for a couple of years with a rookie that is ready to go and had great success in college, you have to feel as though you're ready to take that next step, and that is what you're missing. And the Outlaws have had tough goalie struggles to start the season, and their defense, which is a little bit aging, has really struggled. They've had no problem offensively. It's been a lot of Brandon O'Neill's show and the Jared Bernhardt show, but they really need to step up defensively if they want to make some moves and not be in the gutter, be that one team out missing the playoffs.
We'll quickly go over the schedule for this weekend so that everybody that I know we have listeners and viewers from all over, so we'll talk. We won't talk about every game, but we'll mention when every game is. We'll look at the standings before we move on and move into the finals. But obviously, PLL is a growing sport. So if you are a fan of lacrosse, if you've never watched lacrosse before, but your hockey team is out of it, or you're tired of watching summer baseball where these guys are just slogging through 85 games in 5-day stretches, PLL lacrosse is a lot of fun, and you have the 2 bombs now.
There's games on ABC every single week. If you have a TV, if you have local cable, you have a PLL game that you can watch at home. And even for those that are ESPN Plus subscribers, you can watch every single game every week.
You got all of them. You got all of them, baby.
All of them. So
this weekend in Villanova Stadium on Friday, Boston will be taking on the Water Dogs in the first game of their homecoming. You guys will be the second game, the nightcap, against the Archers on Friday. Saturday, the Atlas will take on the Whip Snakes, and Denver will round out the weekend playing the Water Dogs for their second game of the homecoming. Anything about the other matchups? We haven't really talked about the Atlas or the Whip Snakes in the games that we talked about, but that's a matchup in the Eastern Conference that I assume is going to be, playoff implications. The Atlas are a team that is regularly in postseason conversation. So is that still standing with this season, or what are we seeing out of those two teams?
Well, let's call a spade here. The Whip Snakes have to get a win this week. It is a must-win scenario. Started down 0-3, you dig yourself into such a deep hole. It is very, very tough to get out of. Obviously, they played two really good teams in Boston, who's one of the hottest teams in the league last week, and then week before that they played Boston week 1, and then they lost to who was it last week? The Water Dogs last week, who obviously had a very, very good game as well. So they have to get their footing the right way, or else they will be in big, big time trouble. Because if you fall down 0-3, especially with a team that was in the championship game last year, that added veteran experience, that added a lot of young pieces, you have to feel like you can make that next step. If you go down 0-3, and especially in the Eastern Conference, where all four teams are damn good, like all four are really, really good, as opposed to the West, where it's kind of the Archers, and then the bottom three are real contenders. All four teams in the East can really, really fight against each other, and you fall 0-3, you are going to be fighting, crawling, scratching to get out of that spot, because it's different, right? Well, last couple of years, it was the last two teams in the standings, no matter the conference. This year is different. In the conference, the worst team in the conference has to make it, and then East versus West plays in the championship game, and the way it should be. And the East is a dogfight of a war, and if Whip Snakes fall down 0-2, they're struggling, and they're staring down a playoff, missing the playoffs entirely. I know it's week 3 talking about that, but there's only 12 weeks in the season. So it's a very, very quick turnaround.
This is not hockey or basketball where you have 82 games to make up for things. You have a limited time, and that's what we were always talking about last year with the Redwoods. You have to be – if you go down 3 games in the hole, well, if you go down 4, 5, okay, then the conversation shifts. Looking at the standings in the Eastern Conference, Boston is ahead of everyone right now, 2-0. They have a 5-shot differential, 5-goal differential. With 20 shots and 25 shots and 20 shots allowed. Water Dogs right behind them. They're 1-0. The Atlas 1-1. And then the Whip Snakes, obviously we just talked about them. They're 0-2 right now with a -5. The Atlas also with a -2. So the Atlas, they're 1-1, so they're holding serve. But I'm interested to see if maybe they'll pick things up in the middle of the season, because that's a team that I normally think about.
And they dealt a tough draw, because obviously your goal every home weekend is to go 1-1. Like if you can steal 2, it's a huge moment, right? You go 0-2, you're really fucked. You go 1-1, that's about as even kills as it. And they did. And unfortunately, with training camp in Albany, New York, they were the home team, so they had the doubleheader, which made it really shitty for them. But they went 1-1, so I don't think it's as much of a panic time for them as it is the Whips. That's for sure.
And then looking at the Western Conference, the Redwoods, California Redwoods, 2-0. 9 score differential, 31 shots and 22 shots allowed, scores allowed. And for the next team, it's the Utah Archers, who we have. It's a big matchup. Whoever wins this one is going to have the driver's seat in the Western Conference, and it would look a lot better if you're in the top side than the bottom side, and who you have to play in the playoffs. Carolina at 1-2 is 3, and Denver also winless on the season at 0-2. Carolina has a -5 score differential, and Denver has a -6. So those are the teams currently trying to avoid falling into a deeper hole. And I, as a guy who drives a lawnmower and sometimes the ground is slick, when you start to slide, there is no coming out of that slide. You just got to slide all the way down. So hopefully they're able to grab some sort of footing and catch themselves and pull themselves out of it. And
especially like in the West, like you just said, like there is a 14 goal differential between the 1 seed right now in the West and the last seed. Like that's huge. Unless we get absolutely obliterated by the Archers this weekend, we will hold the second place no matter what. And frankly, the drop between 2 and 3 will even be steeper because unless the Outlaws can come out with a win, because Chaos will sit at -5 either way because they have a bye week this week. If the War Dogs or the Outlaws come out to win, say a 2-goal win, they're sitting at a -4, and us, we could be sitting at minimum maybe a -5 if we lose by 4 goals at max. Like that's huge. That's absolutely huge, and that's why it's even more important to have these games where you just dominate at the beginning of the season because it can help you in the long run so much.
Yeah, we're gonna keep talking about PLL. We'll follow along. Hopefully, it's continuing to follow the Redwoods on a very nice season as it's looking so far. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup Finals. And as we're recording, I mentioned it in the description. So if you do your due diligence and read, this is up to date from Monday afternoon. Monday evening is when we're recording this. So Game 3 is currently being held. It's 5 minutes into the second period as we're going here. And Florida, the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Florida is leading 3-1. Edmonton did score in the second period. It was 2-0 going into the second. And then Florida answered really quickly. Sam Reinhart able to get on the scoring sheet. This series, we mentioned it last week, and I posed the question, which series do you think was going to end quicker? And you said that this was going to be the most competitive series. It was the most competitive series last year. And so far, this series has come down to all of the time, all of the extra time, and both teams are separated by 1 goal. A double overtime winner by Florida and a overtime winner by Leon Draisaitl in Game 1 is the only separation between these two teams, barring whatever happens in the rest of the game tonight.
It is, these teams. I was telling somebody while I was in Charlotte this weekend, I was like, these two teams can play forever, and I'd be happy. Just let them play a 30-game series where there is as evenly as matched as you could see. Obviously, the firepower of Edmonton, and then you have the strong depth of Florida. It's beautiful hockey. It's absolutely beautiful hockey. And the difference, like I said, the difference between Game 1 and 2 was one bad mistake on both ends, right? It was the Marchand breakaway. That was a mistake on the Edmonton turning the puck over. It was a losing Draisaitl in front of the net in Game 1 for Florida that made the mistake, right? It feels like this series is going to come down to which team makes the mistake last. Which team makes the most costly mistake last? And we are at that situation where obviously tonight, as we're recording, is 3-1. There's no doubt in my mind that Edmonton can make this a tie game in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl both have 0s and 0s. So it was Corey Perry who scored the 1 goal so far. Exactly,
and that Corey Perry goal that got them back to overtime in Game 2. With 20 seconds on. It's insane to see.
He's 40.
He's 40. They have these guys like Ekholm has been very, very good for them, right? Yep. They've had so many depth. And Hyman is a guy that they're missing entirely. He hasn't even played this series. He was a guy that was a huge, massive key part of their playoff run last year. And they're missing him entirely. Kane has been good as well. Edmonton is getting moments from everybody. And through obviously the first period and a half as we're watching this game, it looks like this is the Stu Skinner game that he is making the mistakes and going to be the one that Florida
4-1.
Yeah, 4-1. So this is the Stu Skinner game where he comes back down to earth very quickly.
Who scored the last one? Sam Bennett. So let's see. Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart. Everybody's getting in on it with the Florida Panthers as it sits now. But yeah, Stu Skinner, it's a .733 save percentage. He's got 14 goals allowed on 15 shots. That's just not going to get it done. That's not a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. And I know I talked about Grant Fuhr last year. Grant Fuhr wasn't playing the defense and just it's like a brick wall. It's a brick wall that moves itself up the ice. They set up in your offensive zone. They stay for as long as they want to. Maybe you chip one out. Maybe McDavid is able to go McJesus and deke through everybody, dangle everybody, and drop everybody along the blue line. But when that doesn't happen, we've talked about it ad nauseum. This is every single year with the Edmonton Oilers. This year, it looks like it's going to come down to the goaltender, and that just goes to your point. It's the most important position in hockey. It does not matter if you have the two most dynamic and explosive, powerful forwards in the world, because you do. You have Bouchard, and Bouchard's turning into a really good defenseman. You have other guys playing above themselves because of what McDavid and Draisaitl bring. Yet the back end it's a liability because those guys don't play defense. They don't play by your net.
I say this all the time to my coaching when I'm coaching the defense. Is like, if the other team doesn't score, what is the worst that'll happen? You go to overtime.
Yeah, overtime.
Go to overtime or tie. Plain and simple. Like you can have the best offensive guys in the world, right? But if they have an off night, is your goalie good enough to hold it down, or is he a Swiss cheese, a piece of Swiss cheese? And it looks like Stu Skinner tonight is an absolute Swiss cheese.
It's 4-1 now. I do still think that 3 goals with Edmonton is not something that you can sit on. If Florida wins tonight, do you believe that Edmonton will bounce back and be able to win? Or is this a game where you can see them? I mean, as it sits now, this feels like a game where you pick up momentum. I still think that it's going at least 6, probably 7, because I think back to last year and it was 3-0. And then all of a sudden Edmonton wins games 4, 5, and 6. And we're like, holy shit, Bobrovsky forgot how to play hockey. And now it's anybody's matchup. I do still think that it's going to go deep, but is this a game where you can see one team kind of taking the upper hand? And while I do still think it's the most even matchup, this could be where we start to see the carriage turn into a pumpkin and things go wrong for Cinderella.
I will say no in terms of I think the advantage of playing a NBA or actually NHL Stanley Cup final game on home ice for the first game gives the team a massive advantage. A massive advantage. Look how much of the advantage it helped Florida last year, winning 2 in a row at home. Right? This is and that home ice in Florida, it's strong. They have the rats. They have everything going for them. And as much as we want to give Florida shit for not being a hockey town, it definitely is a hockey town, and the Panthers are living up to the hype. But I think this is a game of similar to game 1 and how Edmonton was really winning that game pretty handily. That Florida made their run, made it a strength, got to overtime, and then Edmonton got the home ice advantage with the overtime goal. I think this is similar on the flip side, where you see Florida taking advantage of playing back at home, taking control back of the series. And Edmonton's team this year, I think, is strong enough to sustain a response back instead of losing a 3rd game in a row. I think this team is much better than last year, as opposed to losing 3 games in a row as they could. They very well could if they lose tonight and game 4. But I think Edmonton seems strong enough to get this back to 2-2, and we're sitting at a 3-game series going to 5, 6, and 7.
It might not feel comforting as an Edmonton Oilers fan, but last year is probably the best thing that could have happened for this year's team, because you did not have a ton of turnover. I mean, you brought guys in that are going to help, but the guys that were here last year when Connor McDavid had his blow up, I'm sure that you watched the series they put out on Amazon, or at least have seen the clip floating around social media. He lost it. He snapped, flipped his lid, and that's a guy that is always stoic and always has his composure with him. So it's a big moment, but these guys have been in this situation before, and they've been in a worse situation, because as we sit here, we're talking like they've already gone down 2 games. No, it's still a 1-1 series. They still have all the time in the world tonight to come back, and we'll see. We'll give an update at the end of the episode, because I'm sure by the time we're done with NBA Finals and segments and everything like that, we'll have a little bit of time for an update. It just feels like, I think back to the Stanley Cup year that the Avalanche had, and all we talked about was the depth scoring and the guys stepping up. And yeah, we had McKinnon and Makar and Rantanen at the time who were going and doing these things, but we had everybody getting on the score sheet. You had Cogliano absolutely making things happen. Darren Helm has the game winner against St. Louis. Josh Manson's throwing pucks in from the blue line. As I'm looking down the box score for Florida right now, Luostarinen has 2 assists. Reinhart has a goal. Marchand has a goal. Varhage has a goal and an assist. Rodriguez has an assist. The only guy on the top line for the Florida Panthers with a point right now is Sam Bennett. He has 1 goal. They are not getting any production out of their top 6, and yet they're up 3 goals in a Stanley Cup final game.
It's just, like I said, it just shows to the craziness of the way Florida is built, right? Like Ekblad, Kachuk and company, and obviously Bennett up there too. Like they are produced. They produce that first line as I'm gonna beat you down, motherfuckers. Like you are going to feel this first line. We may not score on you, but we're gonna wear your first first line down so much that our second line is going to come in against your second liners. Your second liners are going to be expected to score, expected to do too much, and our second liners are going to come in and just pick apart your mistakes and do what they do. And like I said, having
and then our third line has a former captain of the Boston Bruins and a Stanley Cup champion who's the center. Oh yeah, exactly. And then we have two Finnish guys that we threw out there with them, and they just score all the time.
It's an insane third line. It's it is the best third line in hockey, and boy oh boy, Florida is a tough team to task and go against.
And you got to give credit to Paul Maurice. We gave a lot of credit to John Cooper when the Lightning were on their little bit of a run, and Florida's, if they're able to do this year, they would have done pretty much the same thing, just in the opposite order, where instead of winning the first two and losing the last one, they lost their first one, won the next two. It would be the first time that we see a champion repeat since Tampa Bay during the bubble years. I
will say that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. But there is an asterisk. There is an asterisk there because of the way that the bubble worked out. Do you think that this Florida Panthers team is going anywhere? Do you think that they're still? I mean, they were a 3 seed this year in the playoffs. Do you think that they're still going to be hanging around, making the playoffs proper, not having to battle from a wild card spot? Is this sustainable, or is this going to be? I mean, we said it last year, but I feel like the wheels are falling off this year. Kachuk's been hurt for 8 months.
Kachuk's been hurt. Bennett is a free agent, probably going to get paid somewhere else. Marchand, I don't know. He's not getting much younger. Bobrovsky's not getting much younger. Florida's running into a situation
is not young.
Florida's running into a situation where, similar to Tampa Bay, they're getting older and they're losing pieces that are pivotal to their championship team for them to get paid somewhere else. And that's what Tampa Bay's downfall was. That's what our downfall was. Like it is good when you're a good team, you lose pieces away. And weirdly enough, this Florida team is, I think, better than they were last year. The pieces they added, and they didn't lose much last year. And then they added Marchand and added a second year of Sam Bennett and added much more depth to make this team even better. They will start to lose those pieces in the offseason. It's just the way the salary cap goes. Unless guys take hometown discounts, which after winning 2 cups, frankly, I'm sorry, not many people do. Okay, it doesn't matter how good you are, unless you are a top 3, top 5 player on the team, you're not taking a hometown discount to go after a 3-peat. You're going to get your bag right now. So we'll see. But I mean, Florida, like I said, Maurice has been a hell of a coach. So I would not be surprised if they're continuing to be in the Eastern Conference Finals and around the picture for this foreseeable future.
They might turn into maybe a little bit of a stepping stone. I feel like I see similar things happening the way that Washington was the year after they won their cup. Now they're kind of like a stepping stone. You beat Washington in the playoffs and you feel like you're capable of making at least a conference finals run, because that's what Carolina did this year, or possibly getting into the final series. Bobrovsky right now, 18 shots allowed, 17 saves, 9.44 save percentage. And let's just for shits and giggles on mine, let's go to his playoff stats, because they have to be just in absolutely insane. They've played 54 games in the playoffs this year. He has 33 wins in those 54 games, 2.44 goals against average, and a 9.06 save percentage.
Yeah, that's
nice numbers, but that is numbers that will, with the team that you have in front of you, absolutely put you in every category and every conversation to just handle and win the series. If this can be consistent, because he was the reason why the series got out of hand last year, and the defense kind of falling apart and falling asleep at the wheel. If he can keep this up, this will end quicker than 7 games. That will be the difference. That will be the biggest difference in this series.
Easily. Bobrovsky is, like I said, he was a guy that in Columbus for a long time had a very, very poor team in front of him. He goes to Florida and everything is just clicking.
Steals Spencer Knight's job.
Yeah, exactly. A young guy who probably won't even see the ice for foreseeable future. He'll get traded somewhere, have to sign somewhere else, because he just came in and said, I'll be the guy to mentor this guy. But instead, he came in and became the number 1 goaltender in the playoffs and the number 1 goaltender in the NHL in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years. He's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. This is why I can't say this enough. It's like, it doesn't matter if you have a line of Gretzky, Crosby, and McKinnon. or Gretzky, Crosby, McDavid, whoever you insert, whoever Canadian you want to do here. It doesn't matter if you have that line out there. If there's a goalie between the pipes that is confident, seeing the puck well, and making the right smart decisions, the worst you'll do is lose 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
So
it always gives you the best chance if you can stay in a game. Speaking of staying in a game, it's a shame that we don't do more of these a week, because then we would have been able to react to this and give it its proper kudos. But Tyrese Halliburton did it again.
The Halliburton hit again.
The Halliburton hits game one. They have a very good plan for game one. We're going to get the shit kicked out of us for a majority of the game. We're going to come back from 15 points down with about 3 minutes left, and Halliburton's just going to throw up a shot that has no business going in, but he practices those all of the time and with a hand in his face. He was born with doctors say when he was born it's hand in his face.
It's even funnier that the NBA is trying to throw on a different nickname than us, because they're trying to call him the moment. Well, we all know his nickname. Literally,
it's the Halaban or Halkada. Those are the two options.
And look, we're not promoting any of that by any reason.
No.
You're
still out there because we left, but hey.
We are USA until we freaking die over here. But like, it's a hilarious meme. It's a hilarious meme.
And it works with him because
he just I'm not going to go into more political stuff, but obviously he beat New York, and that it works for the.
Okay, I wasn't going to go there. I was going to go with they're scrappy. They come up with they bomb.
We probably should just move on from the conversation. Yeah. But okay. Yes, Halliburton is on just a different level. It's very weird, because if you look at his stats from the first quarter to the third quarter, it's like this guy is the most overrated player in the league, like everyone voted. Right? And then the fourth quarter happens. You're like, who the fuck are you? It's like, what am I watching? Like it's a whole different player. It's a whole different takeover. Like that game one, and we don't even really need to talk about game two, because Oklahoma State just dominated in all aspects. But Halliburton in game one, just like, it was literally the literal meme of leaning forward in your chair is what the Pacers did in the fourth quarter. They've done that. He's had a game winner in 4 straight series. He is top 10 in game winners / game tying buckets in the NBA playoffs, and he is a fucking 5. He's been in the league for 5 years. It's absolutely asinine.
He in game one he had. I mean, it was only 14 points, so you're correct in your statement. Even if you look at the box score, it's not like he's lighting the world on fire, and he's not leading this team. He's no Kawhi Leonard. He's no Steph Curry, but in those moments right now, you at least know that he has the balls to take those shots. He's got the Kobe in him, where he wants the ball in his hands in the last play. I mean, I know that we're not going to necessarily spend too much time on the game, but OKC in that first game, how did they blow their lead? What is it? Honestly, they've kind of done that outside of the first round. They've had moments where the series seems like it's too big for them, and they get beat by the team that they're playing. Well, what causes them to blow these leads and to lose these games that they probably should?
Well, I mean, we saw this in the Denver series also, and saw in a little bit of the Western Conference Finals as well against Minnesota. It's like, in OKC starters is probably as even as it is possible across the league. It's not like Shea is an outstanding player, but Chet, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, they're not like world killers. They're not like they're not absolutely animals. But when you step, the biggest advantage the Oklahoma State Thunder have in this series, they had in the last series, had against us, had it against the Grizzlies in the first round, is like when they go to their bench, they have the deepest bench where they can go 9 guys deep every single game. Like the game 2 was the Aaron Wiggins game. Like I remember the Lou Dort game against us in the second round, right? You had the Jalen Williams, the J-Dub, or I don't know which one, fucking J-Dub, J-Will one it is. But one of the Jalen Williams went off in the game against Minnesota, a series against Minnesota, right? They have these role players. Like Caruso had a game against us, right? Caruso had a hell of a game in game 2 as well. They have these depth pieces. You're just like, we're throwing out, Indiana, for instance, is throwing out Jarris Walker, and they're throwing out Obi Toppin as bench guys off the bench who are very good bench players, but are scared of the moment, as opposed to OKC guys are coming in with confidence and strength and be like, you know what, we're just as good as our number 1 guys, right? Like Caruso could start on a lot of playoff teams. He would start for us. He would start for Minnesota. He'd start for Boston. He'd start for probably 95 or probably around 75% of the NBA playoffs teams that made the playoffs this year, he would start for. He comes off their bench, right? You look at Isaiah Hartenstein, who they've been mixing in and out of the starting lineup. He is their bench player as well. He would be a starting center on a lot of teams in this league, right? They have so much depth that it's just like Indiana can throw everything they want at them in the first five, in the first run of that of the game. Because especially if you look at the minute breakdown, if you look at the first, I believe it's like 8 minutes of the first quarter, right? 8 minutes of the first quarter where it's 5-on-5. OKC's starting 5, Indiana starting 5. It's about as even as possible. Once both teams start diving into the bench, and this isn't Tom Thibodeau where the team plays 50 minutes a game, the starting 5 plays 50 minutes a game, that's where OKC has a massive, massive, massive advantage, and it's helping them so much.
It also doesn't hurt that their best player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he did just pass the 30,000 point mark. If you keep his regular season totals and his playoff totals, not many people have been able to do that. It's a majority Michael Jordan and then like a handful of other guys. And all of those other guys, I believe, won NBA championships when they had their 30,000 point season. So yes, his style of play is not appealing to watch for the most part. It is a lot of free throws, but that is a lot of points to be scoring. So he does deserve credit, and he's leading the team. That's what they needed from him. That's why they traded for him. That's why he's in the position that he's in, and he's proving it, and they got a big win in Game 2. For Game 3 happening Wednesday, so the day before. We don't know what's going to happen, so bear with us. Maybe we choose who we think is going to win, and we roll with it from there. But what is the prediction for Game 3, first game in Indiana? We talked about it in the NHL series. Is this going to be where Indiana gets their home court bump and we see them go back up in the series 2-1 and then make Oklahoma City fight back, push this to 6 guaranteed? Or do you think that Oklahoma City has figured it out?
I will flip the table because I think it's entirely different in basketball as opposed to hockey, where momentum is everything. Like in hockey, you get blown out by 4-1 goals. You know what? It wasn't our night. So be it. We'll move on to the next. NBA, there is a mindset of you when you get throttled, you have to respond. Like I remember people saying after we won Game 1 and then lost Game 2 by 30 points, whatever it was against Oklahoma City, like Game 3 is must win. And to be honest with you, looking back at it, it was. It really was a must-win situation because if we didn't pull that one out of our butt and we went into Game 4 and then we made the mistakes we did and lost in Game 5, that series would not have gone to 7. Right? If Indiana wants to extend the series, it is a must-win game. Obviously, it's not must-win in terms of their season, but like if you want to have a real shot at this and be able to gain home court advantage back, it is a massive, massive thing to do that because I think back of when we went into our series, it's like you win home court back, you are making the other team win a game on the road. That means say, OKC, you young pups over there, you have to win a game on the road. Maybe you have to win 2 games on the road if you want to win the series, right? Like that, all the pressure goes the opposite way, as opposed to if you just win at home, you take care of business at home. You can just win a game, win it at 6. And be moving on and hosting the trophy at home. So it is a massive game for the Pacers. And look, the Pacers have not seen the NBA Finals since the Reggie Miller days. So it's been a very long time coming. I know they'll be ecstatic. The state of basketball is going to be ecstatic for them to be back. But OKC is just different, man. They don't have there isn't much answers that the Thunder have. Or sorry, excuse me, the answers that the Indiana Pacers have that the Thunder can't counter with. It's like playing chess. It's like when you have a bunch of pawns on the front line, right? But your opponent has a queen on the board already and made their pawn all the way to the side, so there's 2 queens trapping you and your king into different movements. It's just mistakes being made that you cannot recover from. And I just feel like OKC could still win this series in 5. I would hope Indiana could push it here. I thought that was a great win in Game 1. But if Pacers want to have a chance to win this series, Halliburton cannot look like T.J. McConnell in the first 3 quarters of the game and then turn on the 4th quarter. You have to produce like the all-star level, the Team USA level player that you are.
I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this is going to be the AI 76ers You had the heroic effort. The guy won you the game himself in game 1, and then you get blown out in the next 4. I'm hoping that it's not the case, but that is kind of what everybody was expecting coming in. And most of the time expectations are there for a reason. We've seen this play out before, and maybe Indiana learns from this and they're able to move forward. Who knows? The NBA, I've heard rumors, as wild as the NBA off seasons normally are. There are people calling the reporters and the people on the radio like this is going to be the craziest that you've ever seen.
The offseason, yeah. I mean, it could be Giannis, it could be Michael Porter Jr., it could be LeBron, it could be KD.
Did you see all 5 of the Nuggets starters were ranked in the top 100 players of the NBA this year?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. We have one of the best starting 5s in the league. We just literally have no one that's worth the shit off the bench.
I mean, even Michael Porter was top 30.
That's a little bit high for him, in my opinion. But I mean, the rest, everyone else, it made sense to me. But
hey, I'm back listening to local Denver radio as I'm mowing lawn, so I'm catching up on all my Nuggets gossip.
If you're a team that's interested in Michael Porter Jr., yes, he is a top 30 overall player. You should trade a lot of assets to us for him.
Really, really pretty jump shot.
Give me like really beautiful jump shot, really smooth talker, smooth operator.
Bad tattoos.
Bad tattoos, but great shooter. And he's actually a lot better rebounder than you think. And he is totally worth 3 role players that you do not need to give up. So please give us 3 role players that can all come to our team, please. Anybody, I'm begging you.
What team are you looking at most? One team.
One team. That's a tough one on the spot. The first one I'm looking at is Portland. The Portland has some young pieces and some.
Portland's not interested. Portland's the Rockies of the NBA.
Yeah, they kind of will do whatever to move on. They're trying to get younger anyway, so Michael Porter Jr. could be a centerpiece there. Atlanta is one team. Chicago, I would say, but that's probably the big 3. It's teams that have no identity and that could benefit from seeing if Michael Porter Jr. could be a number 1, number 2 guy on the roster, and not a team that's contending for a championship. That's trying to fit him in as a 3rd or 4th guy, because his money, you're not going to get 3rd or 4th guy money from him and production from him with the money you're paying him. So it's going to be a younger team that has cap space.
Before we get into our top 5, because it is back now that the finals are coming to an end, a couple things happened that do relate back to the Broncos, because like I said, I am listening to the Denver station now, so I'm listening to what they're kind of. It's the season where everybody tries to – it's fear-mongering season. But it's the running back room, and we've talked about the running back room too. We've said that R.J. Harvey is probably the best option that they could have drafted based on the need that they had. They had no running game last year.
Also the position they were in, because Trayvon Harrison would have been much better, but obviously didn't fall to us.
So I've heard people complaining that they didn't trade up to get a Travion Henderson, knowing that this running back room is what it is. But J.K. Dobbins was recently in Denver for a visit, didn't get a contract done while he was here, but it was reported that it was a nice visit, whatever you want to take from that. Nick Chubb, another free agent running back that was going to be a possibility. And yes, I know that both of those guys I just mentioned have injury history. One thing that we do have to recognize with the Denver Broncos is that their training staff is top of the line. Like going all the way back to the 90s when Mr. B took over, Pat Bowlen made sure that was the one thing the Denver Broncos always invested in. So people can come here and yes, we do have injuries that happen. It's the NFL. That's kind of what they do, but they're able to help them work through those a little bit better. But J.K. Dobbins was here. Nick Chubb is now, I don't know if it's official, but he's rumored to be going to the Texans, so he's going to be off the board. If a guy like J.K. Dobbins doesn't end up getting a deal done with Denver, are you okay with this running back room as is without adding any kind of veteran leadership? I feel like it's a young room, so a veteran might help, but are you okay with things as they are?
I mean, I don't think it's a world killer running back room, but I do think that having a veteran behind a young guy helps a lot. But I do think that frankly we've just swung and missed on so many veteran running backs here in Denver to back up / take to take reps away from a young guy. I'm not opposed to just running Harvey and Estime out there, right? I think about Melvin Gordon taking reps away from Philip Lindsay. I think about Jamal Charles taking reps away from Monte Ball. You go down a list of veteran running backs that you bring in as help, and it takes all the juice and momentum away from the young guy, right? As opposed to the best legs you'll ever get from your running back will be his first rookie contract. Plain and simple. Best legs you'll ever get from him. So I'm not opposed to just running it out there and seeing what you have, and then come week 5, week 6, and J.K. Dobbins is out there still training, still healthy, then you can take a swing on him. Because like I said, there's a lot more teams nowadays are in the sweepstakes of, unless you really, really feel like you have to have a running back right now, you don't have a guy in your room, but you have some young guys, you want to run the young guys out there and let the quarterback circle everything around him. I do think a running back would help this team a lot. I just don't think the situation right now calls for it. I think right now you need to see what you have. Excuse me. Go through preseason. Go through the first couple games. See what you have from Estime. See what you have from Harvey, and then go from there.
And I think, too, you have to put into consideration, I mean, Sean Payton has had good running backs and good running back rooms in the past, but he is a smart enough coach to understand that if, okay, we can't have a traditional running game where we're going to have our quarterback turn around and hand the ball off, we'll be able to makeshift run games. And that's what they kind of did last year with Marvin Mims, with the jet sweeps and the bubble screens. And, I mean, the reason why the Broncos weren't dead last in the NFL in rushing is because Bo Nix bailed them out quite a bit too. And you have an athletic quarterback that can bail you out. That's also a thing that Sean Payton's going to recognize. Like, okay, I don't necessarily – if that's a need for next year that we get addressed, we can take care of it next year and get a bell cow. But we'll see what we have this year. We'll probably have a similar scheme. I don't think that there's going to be too much different about this Broncos team. I think that you're looking mainly for consistency because that is what you haven't had. We've had consistently bad. I feel like the manager in Major League. We won last season. We have a chance to win this season. If we win the following season, that becomes a winning streak. It has happened before. I mean, the Broncos went a long time without missing the playoffs, or without having a below 500 season. Let's get a couple years of that before we start talking about everything else.
Yeah, you can, like I said, the time to maximize your rookie quarterback's contract is 3, 4, and 5. Second, you're really figuring it out and going from there. 3, 4, and 5 are the years you're like, okay, we know we have a guy, right? Now who wants to, which veterans and what big moves can we add to this team? It's slow and steady the first 2 years and see what you have. And frankly, if you shock people, you shock people. So I think, like I said, I'm not – J.K. Dobbins will be a great piece. I think he had a great year in L.A. last year. Was a very strong worker, but like I said, he's an injury-prone guy. Like I said, I don't need another injury-prone running back that has fumbling issues, taking reps away from young guys. I've seen it way too many times.
And what you're getting whenever you sign one of these guys is an injury-prone guy, because the only reason they didn't make it to their second contract is because they had injury issues, and running backs don't really get second contracts. Let's get back into our top 5. It's funny because now that we've been doing this and we stopped doing it for a while, most of the shows that I listen to have some sort of a top 5. I'm a big PMT guy, so Mount Rushmore season I think it's begun. We're starting on Friday. But we are doing top 5 teams to never win, technically top 5 teams that have lost in championships. I'll let you get started because I came up with the topic, but I was intrigued by your list because you had a couple that I thought of initially, but I definitely changed a few of mine to make sure that we didn't have any crossover, so we do have totally different ones. Well, I got yours pulled up on the screen now.
So my number 1 and number 2 are two of the greatest regular season teams in their respective sports history. Obviously, 2015-2016 Warriors, the 73-9 team, a team that got to 73-9 before they added Kevin Durant, right? A team that lost the NBA Finals to LeBron James, who came back from 3-1 lead. The Golden State Warriors, that team is the greatest regular season team in NBA history. And that's not even a debate. They're just plain up par. And then you go at number 2, the only other team to go undefeated in NFL history was the Miami Dolphins. And the New England Patriots did it, but they didn't win a ring with it, right? Obviously lost Eli Manning in the Super Bowl. The team with Randy Moss, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, a team that literally had Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer on the team, fell and lost to Eli Manning in the Super Bowl. When you say this topic, they're the 2 teams you think about the most, right? The 2 best regular season teams to ever do it. Other teams on the list for me, I put the 2003-2004 LA Lakers. This is a team that a lot of people don't forget about, right? People remember that 3-peat Lakers team with Kobe, with Shaq, with Robert Horry company, right? Well, people forget about the team right after the 3-peat, the team that was trying to go for the 4-peat. The Lakers team that added Karl Malone, one of the best
The
big men
mailman.
of all time. And don't ask what he does in his free time. Karl Malone, and added one of the greatest defensive point guards in NBA history in Gary Payton in the offseason.
The glove.
And this team lost in 5 games to the Detroit Pistons and this big shot Johnson Billups.
Well, I mean, it was 2004, not 1997, right?
Very, very true, but it's still four of the greatest player, 4 of the top 50 greatest players of all time, easily. Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton. And they lost to Mr. Big Shot Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Big Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, and company in the finals. And one of the biggest failure of a super team we've ever seen. Probably the biggest failure of a super team. Next one I have, 2009 Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney. They had everything you could want from a team. A team that, at the end of the season, let's not forget, rested their players because they didn't want to go undefeated because of what happened 2 years before. And the New England Patriots losing and throwing all their chips in to go undefeated. Well, the 2 teams that were undefeated going to the last game of the year, last 2 weeks of regular season, were the New Orleans Saints and the Indianapolis Colts. One team decided, you know what, we're just going to give our guys a little bit more run and keep our boys fresh, and that was the New Orleans Saints. The other team entirely just let the season go and said, you know what, we're not even going to play Peyton. We're going to play our backup, and we're going to lose the last 2 games, and we're going to coast into the Super Bowl. Well, obviously the Saints won the Super Bowl. Drew Brees held the baby up. Pat McAfee in his rookie year lost the Super Bowl, and Peyton only was able to walk away with 2 Super Bowls as opposed to 3. Yep. Finally, it's the greatest underdog
Do
win.
you believe in miracles?
It's the greatest underdog win of all time, and it's the opposite side of it. The 1980 Russian hockey team that lost.
And you can say professionals, even though they were supposed to be amateur at this point, because those guys got paid to play hockey.
Exactly, they were grown-ass men that were playing in Russia. One of the greatest hockey teams ever put together, and they lost them to a bunch of college kids from the United States.
I am a hockey player. God, man, I mean, it's beautiful. It is beautiful, and I like that. You know,
a couple honorable mentions. The other one, I wanted to throw in the 2004 USA basketball team that got 3rd place, that didn't make that didn't win the gold medal. That had Tim Duncan, that had Vince Carter, that had LeBron James, that had Melo, had all these great young players at the time that didn't win it. And then the other one that you brought up to me that I just couldn't put on there because of the performance in the Super Bowl was obviously the 2013 Denver Broncos. We lost by 30. Okay, I can't physically put them on this list.
That was the greatest offense of all time at the point.
One of the greatest offenses of all time. And we just got fucking abominated, okay, off the first snap, okay? Like I talked about last week. Some people make the championship game, but you're further away from winning a championship than you think. Yeah. That team was great. It was further away from a championship than we thought. It took a couple of years. It took building a great defense and building a team the right way to finally get a Super Bowl, and luckily we did. So that's why I didn't put the 2013 Broncos on there, and why I didn't put the 2004 Team USA basketball on there.
I forgot that John Fox was even the coach. I totally I watched that at the Markiel's house. I don't know if you were there at their party that year.
Where I watched it.
That one was rough, especially to watch around.
I legit think I turned that off after the second quarter. I literally think
Harvin's kick return.
I vividly remember not finishing watching that game. Like I'd watched every single Broncos game up to that point. I'd watched that season. I'd watch every game basically during the Peyton Manning era. I probably watched every second of Peyton Manning's tenure as a Denver Bronco and every game he played, from start to finish. And I literally turned that shit off so quickly. I was like, I can't do this anymore. The only time I turned it back on was to see the ending and see the little parade at the end, is to soak in the hard feelings of how shitty that was. So, just unbelievable.
All right. I'm throwing up my list here. My honorable mention was the 2001 St. Louis Rams, because that was the year after they won the Super Bowl, where they stopped Kevin Dyson inches short, And that was what ended up becoming the greatest dynasty that we've seen in modern NFL history with the New England Patriots and Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. That was my honorable mention because that was such a great team. My list goes as follows. The 1998 Minnesota Vikings.
You're going to have to educate me on this one.
They were supposed to play in the Super Bowl. So the year that the Broncos beat the Falcons, they were 15-1. That was Randy Moss's rookie season. They had, I think, 556 points in the year. They had a kicker who was perfect the entire season, and he missed the game-winning field goal in the NFC Championship, so they didn't even get to the Super Bowl. Experts say if Minnesota plays Denver in 1998, John Elway doesn't finish his career with a Super Bowl championship. I'm just throwing that out there. They also had John Randall on their defensive line, and I love that dude. He was a little bit smaller of a defensive lineman, and he ran his mouth. He was a guy that got himself in shape enough so that he could run his mouth the entire game. So I have respect for those guys.
Was Moss and Carter on this?
Yes, that was Randy Moss, Chris Carter. That was Randall Cunningham coming back from busting his knee in Philadelphia, and that was the year that he was nearly an MVP.
Still one of the greatest backyard football players of all time. If you know anything about backyard football, backyard baseball, all those games, those computer games, Randall Cunningham was a cheat code.
You get Randall Cunningham and Braylon Edwards, and you just run the go routes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that was when Braylon Edwards was uncoverable. Mm-hmm. And then you get Cadillac Williams in the backfield, and nobody can you score every time, any play that you pick. My second, I know that you don't know about this one, but the 2001 Seattle Mariners, this one hits a little bit closer to my heart because I went to school with Christian Saez, who we've had on the show. He is a diehard Seattle Mariners / San Francisco 49ers fan. He explains how that works out. I don't think that you can like both of those teams. But in 2001, Seattle was 116-46. They had Ichiro. That was his rookie season. He won the MVP in his rookie year. They had Edgar Martinez, Brent Boone, Freddie Garcia. They got beat in the ALCS by the New York Yankees in 5 games that season. That was one of the 27 World Series championships that the New York Yankees won, but the Seattle Mariners from April to September were the greatest baseball team that we've seen, most consistent, and they only lost 40. I think that's still a record, only losing 46 games. I don't know if the Dodgers have beaten that recently, but I mean, I would love to win 116 times at anything.
Yeah, I mean that's an insane record. You're gonna have to teach me a little bit about this team. Ken Griffey, yes.
Ken Griffey, I believe.
Ichiro, question mark?
Yes, Ichiro, rookie season, MVP.
Who else?
Edgar Martinez.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. A-Rod, was that before? Or no, he was a Ranger. Never mind.
He was, I believe, actually, I think he was a Yankee at this point. Okay, I think he was on the team that bounced them from the playoffs.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't even know off the top of my head. Felix Hernandez, that's way too early.
Too early. Felix Hernandez was 07. So he was
Randy Johnson. Was he? He was with
Arizona at that point.
He was Arizona at that point. That's right.
I think that was right around.
I know a little bit of ball.
Yeah, baseball. I know that was when baseball was fun. When everybody was on steroids. And by the way, total tangent, but it's a summer episode. The Untold on the steroid scandal with Barry Bonds. I highly recommend. I love the Netflix Untolds because the Brett Favre one also great.
Also, the Gilbert Arenas shooting.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Also very good too.
Come on, man, take a chill. By the way, why are you buying so many guns? And transporting them from Arizona to Washington? Yes, that's interstate weapons trafficking.
Some people are just not the smartest people in the world, Jimmy. That's all it is.
Do you know the story of the 96 Denver Broncos, my number 3?
I don't.
So they were 14-2 or 12-2. I can't remember if it was a 14 or 16 game season. Go into the first round, and they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars with a little lefty, pudgy quarterback, Mark Brunell, and a team that's in their first or second year of existence. I believe it's their first season of existence. And they lose at the old Mile High Stadium. And John Elway at this point is wondering, my God, what in the hell are we going to be able to do to get to the Super Bowl? This was Terrell Davis's, this was one of his best seasons. This was the team. I mean, Mark Schlereth talks about it too. Mark Schlereth played on 3 Super Bowl champions. 2 of them were here in Denver in 97 and 98. This was a team that if they won, I don't know if they win in 97, but they say that this could have been the start of a three-peat instead of just the back-to-back because 96 was better than 97 and even 98.
Yeah, I remember that now. I remember seeing pictures of that. I mean, obviously wasn't born for it, but like I remember hearing the stories about it. But
it was so bad they retired the bright orange after that. That was the last game of the bright orange and the baby blue.
Yeah, and then obviously we brought back the orange, but like that's a tough one to swallow.
I probably surprised you with my number 4, the 93-94 Knicks.
The team that with Ewing, Allen Houston, who else? I don't even know. They faltered. I knew they fell to the Bulls because that's in the middle of the first three-peat for the Bulls.
Yes. And it was Pat Riley. Pat Riley was the
that's coach. Right. Pat Riley, the
gritty and they're just always. I mean, I like watching Patrick Ewing. Like Patrick Ewing, if I watched him play basketball, I might have actually wanted to pick up a basketball and start learning how to play myself. I love the physical way that they played, but the New York Knicks, because of what we talked about with Thibodeau last week, and I mean, I just don't. Did you see the theory that the reason why they were doing so well is because Dolan was so worried about making the sphere, and now that the sphere is done, he's back looking at the Knicks, and they're like, "No, damn it! Oh."
He's paying attention again. It's like, oh fuck, please don't take it.
Can we build another sphere? What city wants a sphere? Hey,
I'm sure somebody with money would do it. Trust me. It was a little bit of a surprise on that one when I saw that. I was like, oh, that's an interesting one. In terms of teams that Jordan stopped from winning a championship, I wouldn't have put the Knicks there. I probably would have put the Jazz with Malone and Stockton. I probably would have threw Barkley and the Suns team. One of those guys too.
They were on my bigger list when I cut it down to the top 5. I went with the big market. I'm trying to pander. I'm pandering a little bit there. The last best chance that Canada had besides last season with Edmonton going to Game 7 was 2011. And Vancouver, if you lived in Vancouver in 2011, you remember this very vividly. This is probably not the greatest memory, not just because that your team lost and you did not win the Stanley Cup. That was also the day of the riots. They nearly tore the shit out of their own city, losing to Boston in Game 7. They lost Game 6 5-2, and they lost Game 7 at home 4-0.
It was a heartbreaker. I remember seeing that from Vancouver with the Sedins, with Luongo, and how deep that team was, and then just like I said, the Canucks were the little engine that could, and then Boston was just like, we're just Boston. We're a better hockey town, and we're here. We've been there, done that, and fortunately they faltered to the wayside.
Yeah, no, they're little brothered them really good. Zdeno Chara was 7-2 in his skates, and that was. I hated that Boston was the one that benefited from that. And now we're at the end of the show, so let's get into the best and worst of the week. I'm not going to show the plays of the week, but we'll just describe them because I think that was the issue that we ran into with our old feed. But my play of the week is the overtime winner from Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Connor McDavid shoots it at the pad, does the perfect shell play, just shoot it, put it on net. The goalie's going to kick it out, and who else? But the banana hook himself, the Scheiße, Leon Draisaitl. Pooh!
Do you know what Scheiße means?
No.
It means the shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It works perfectly. As the guy who doesn't speak any words of German anymore except cuss words, wanted to make sure you knew what that was. So you got on the dot.
I know curse words and I know a lot of curse words in Spanish now too. That's
probably not for the best. I know. Very unfortunate.
No, it's not for the good reasons. And then they get really surprised when but pendejo. Excuse me.
That's you should not be saying that. No.
I know what that one is.
My play of the week, I had to go the boy, Chris Cav, in between the legs. Number 1 on SportsCenter, by the way, on Saturday, going to Sunday. It was just the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
Say the name again because PLO's nice to us. They won't take us down.
Chris Kavanaugh. I mean, I'm in one of the videos, so I don't know if they'll be able to take a video down with me in it. But I have the rights to my own self, I guess. I don't know what it means. But he went in between his legs, on a goal. First of all, a ridiculous pass across the net from Dylan Malloy that Cav caught it, turned around, went between his legs and looked behind and scored the goal. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. I was just like, these guys are just playing video games. I hit between him and number 50, Ryder Gardens, the other guy. Ryder threw a one-handed cross-field assist that I had never seen before either, with one hand just twirling it around, throwing it across, that just ended up in the back of the net, a snipe. I was just like, what in the world is for those who don't know and live under a rock, Chris Kavanaugh was Ryder Gardens, was Chris Kavanaugh's coach at Notre Dame. Our player Ryder Gardens is the assistant coach at Notre Dame. And both Kavanaughs, for those who watch between the legs, it's just the most disgusting thing I have ever seen.
He catches the pass one-handed. I still don't know how you guys do that. Catch the crossball one-handed.
It was funny because I'm in a team group me, obviously, with everybody, and our coaches and our coach Chris Bachlet has a little youth team as well that was in Charlotte playing a little tournament. And they went to the game. Well, he had a video of literally the first play of the game, one of his kids trying to go between the freaking legs and the ball just sailing 30 yards over. And he's saying to our group chief, he's like, thanks, Chris, thanks, Cav, for telling my team to do all the wrong things because of how sick you are.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
It's just like it's the Zegras when he hit the Michigan for the first time, and then you get I'm going to hit Michigan. I want to hit the Michigan. Let me do it. Let me do it.
You cannot do that, buddy. You're not good enough.
There's a reason he does it and you don't. Moving on to player of the week. I'll let you go first because mine
it flows together. Blaze Weird and I talked about earlier. 25 saves, most ever in a single professional lacrosse game versus Denver. It was. I was in the hotel, or on the way back from practice watching it, and we were talking about being like, he has 20 saves. He has 22 saves, 23 saves, 24. He has 25 saves. It's like it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, as a goalkeeper in lacrosse, if you're above 50%, you're insane. Like, you're a great goaltender, right? And he just put on a clinic. The Outlaws could have won that game by 8 goals very easily because of how many mistakes that the Chaos defense made. But you had the best goalie in the world in Blaze Weird and making unreal save after unreal save, 25 saves in front of the home crowd. It was a great moment.
Yeah, no, I feel bad now because that's history, and mine's not historical per se. This is where my little bit of reality.
I want to know. When Jimmy sent me, because I make the graphics for us. When Jimmy sent me, I want Xavier Leggette to be my player of the week. I was like, for what?
I should have emphasized player of the week.
I was like, I make these graphics with the little anecdotes of why they're player of the week after. And this is exactly word for word what Jimmy told me to put underneath Xavier Leggette for those that are watching.
If you aren't on the same social media track as I am, you might not. So on Sundays, especially Sundays, because I don't have to wake up early, I wake up and I grab my phone and I scroll a little bit to kind of get myself eased into the day. Well, I'm scrolling and I listen to Glorilla. I'm not like a big fan, but it popped up on my For You page as I was going. I was like, oh, cool, new song.
I could not name you one song from Glorilla. Okay,
yeah, Glow. No,
I'm just getting introduced to Sexy Red, all right?
Okay, she's similar, but a little bit different. Glorilla's more hood. Like, she's been to prison, but I think most of her producer's tagline is from prison. So there's that. But as I'm watching, I go, okay, she's got a new song. She's not dressed she doesn't have very much on in this music video. So I'm watching as a warm-blooded American male. I'm watching. And then in the background, who's walking by out of the bathroom with no shirt on, but Xavier Leggette.
I'll tell you right now, if Xavier Leggette walks down the street, I would have no idea who he was. I'm glad you had the whereabouts to know that, because I had no idea.
It was, and I guess I didn't know that they were dating, but then I also had to justify why he was the player of the week. And we all saw the Stephon Diggs video where he's sipping Tusi on the boat with the 3 women who are not his girlfriend, because he is dating Cardi B. So Xavier Leggette and Stephon Diggs are dating the two most powerful women in hip hop, but he was getting them to call him daddy. And I was like, yeah. And Xavier Leggette got featured in a music video and got to be an actor for I don't know how long with his girlfriend, who's also really attractive and, is very world renowned. I know it's
all I'm gonna say, like I said, I think the most impressive part about all this is the fact you singled him out and knew who that was. I cannot stress this enough. So as a person that was in Charlotte, North Carolina this past weekend, if Xavier Leggette slapped me across the face, I would have no idea who the fuck he was.
You would know because he's the guy with the really weird accent. He's got
I will say I did run into Grant Williams, and this is why I'm a basketball nerd, because the guy who was on the Celtics team for a lot of years, on the Hornets, on a couple teams, a basketball pro NBA player, played for the Tennessee Volunteers. This is the basketball nerd I am. I walked right by him with one of my coworkers, and I was like, that was Grant Williams. And my coworker's like, who? Fucking who? I was like, this is where my basketball brain rot comes into play. You have no idea who that is, and I do. It means something to me. Okay.
Yeah, I've been in those situations before. It's normally with my girlfriend. I'm like, do you know? No, I don't know.
No,
okay. I'll calm down. I was thinking about this because we talking about the Rockies last week because of the Marlins, and we were going to say, hey, you broke your 21 series losing streak on the season, and you got to double digits, and you swept a team. And go ahead.
The Miami Marlins are single-handedly accounting for 25% of the Colorado Rockies' wins this season. The Rockies have won 12 games. They swept the Marlins by 3 games in a row last week.
In front of tens of people.
And by the way, in Florida, not in Colorado, on the road.
In Miami, where 5 people showed up in the stadium, and I think they were all beat writers for the teams.
I don't think it gets worse than that. I know who your bench warmer is, but I'll let you go on your little tangent here in a second. The Rockies are on pace to be the worst team in MLB history, and thanks to the Miami Marlins, they may actually not be the worst record in MLB history. Like they put together. I mean, they just get swept by the Mets the next series, so we're right back to ground zero.
And I watched the game on Saturday night before they turned on Australian League Rugby, and they gave up like 18 home runs in that game against the Mets.
I cannot fathom losing to this team. I look at this roster and I'm like, obviously we do a sports podcast, right? You watch basketball. I watch basketball a lot. You watch a lot of football. We both watch a lot of football. You watch a lot of hockey, right? You and I think, could do that game where we pull up a random picture from a guy on the team. You can probably tell you who that guy is, right? Like in terms of, if you put up any picture of any NBA player right now, I can probably tell you who that is. If I pull up any picture of any offensive lineman in the NFL right now, you'll tell me who he is and who he starts for, right? You pull up any picture from the Colorado Rockies lineup from any game this season, I'm like, who? It sounds like a fucking owl. Because who are you? I don't even like. Zach Dean is like the number 1 prospect. That's the only person I know. Chase Dolander, also on the team. That's the other prospect.
Aaron Nolan, he might be off the team by now.
Arenado, that guy. Oh no, he's been gone for 5 years, and we're still paying.
Trevor Story.
That guy's gone.
Mayhew.
Carlos Gonzalez. Any of the Charlie Bagwell. No, he's gone also.
Todd Helton.
Our manager. Who's our manager? Bud Black.
No,
he's not there.
Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know's on third, and that's what I'm trying to find out. No, I'm saying who's on first.
Just to add more insult to the Marlins. I saw this statistic. It's like, do you know why the Rockies didn't start Zach Fiend and Chase Dolander in Game 1 of in the majors?
No.
They save money at the end of their contract. So they don't have to pay them at the end of their contract. I'm that serious. That is literally what I was told today, because if you start them in AAA at the beginning of the season, they get you don't have to pay
contract.
Yeah, it's a 2-way contract. You don't have to pay them as much at the end of the contract. Let me. This is a real statement from the owner. We're trying to win this year. That was a real statement.
Miami or
no, the Rockies. Monfort. We're trying to win this year. And then all of a sudden, after losing fucking 20 straight games in a row, he's like, yeah, this is a rebuilding year. Well, why didn't you think about bringing your young guys up and playing your young guys if you're in a rebuilding year? even goes to show even further why the Miami Marlins are the biggest bench warmer of the week we may have ever had. Because you didn't just lose one game to them. You lost 3 in a row. What's the Major League line? Win one game.
That's a winning streak.
That's a winning streak.
They have happened before, and they lost theirs directly after.
And probably won't have another 2-game winning streak all season.
No,
but they won 3 in a row in May and against beginning of June against the Marlins. So good for them.
Yeah, the beginning wins since June 3rd. Rockies 3, or Scotty Scheffler 0.
Oh, they were having a field day with that. They were having.
You have to, Nico. There's only been 12 of them on the year.
I know. Shout out to, like I said, as a person that works in a professional sports league, you have to have so much patience with a bad team. Like, you have to have so much patience. It's like, what do you post about? You post about what the guys are having for fucking dinner, and that's the best content. Because you can't. What are you gonna do? Post a final score? Just say nope, game over, Rockies lost, and that's what they've done the last 50 games.
To Miami's credit, they do have 12 more wins than the Rockies on the season. They're already at 24 wins, so maybe it's just a little bit of a down stretch of the year. But also, the Rockies had, I think, 120,000 people go to the 3 games to watch them get their asses beat by the Mets.
Oh, the crowds are great.
Yeah, no, that's the reason why we will never get out of this, because 120,000 of you idiots showed up to the game to get drunk and watch bad baseball.
Oh, no, hold on. Let's preface this. All the transplants from New York showed up to the game. Because I guarantee you, "Let's go Mets" was chanted more than "Go Rockies" the entire throughout the stadium. So, to be fair, we've built a beautiful stadium for opposing fans to come enjoy.
We put billboards up. We put billboards up of the opposing team's star. The Montforts pay for billboards to advertise that Aaron Judge is coming to town.
Who are you going to advertise this team?
No, I know that you don't have anybody on your team to advertise, but you don't advertise the opposing team. It's a competitive league, right?
It's not a competitive team, though. A competitive league,
no, not a competitive team. This league's supposed to be. My bench warmer. We could have the same, just copy and paste our same conversation from Thibodeau and then attach it onto this guy, Pete DeBoer. I know that our daddy Pete DeBoer, because he is the Avalanche killer as a coach, but he can't do anything else. So unless he's playing the Avalanche in the Stanley Cup Finals, then
unless he's coaching as Jared Bednar, he can't do anything.
He's obviously a very talented hockey coach, and I'm not saying that I can do his job any better. But clearly, the Dallas is. I think that they're still going to be good next year, but they're getting to the point where, like, Ben's not going to be around, Sagan's not going to be around, Robertson didn't show you anything, Heiskanen didn't show you anything in trying to, like, pull his team away. Rantanen disappeared, and now you fire your coach, and I think this is more of a reaction to pulling Jake Ottinger in that Game 7. I think that was what really sealed this as the decision. But I feel like hockey coaches are a revolving door even more so than the NFL. And you get so many opportunities to get right there. And then the team is finally going to be like, okay, we're going to go figure out who can get us over the hump, because it's nice to get here, but I'm ready to see what the other side is like.
Like, was Ottinger playing well? No, he wasn't. Was your team playing just as poorly in front of him? Yes, they were. And like, Ottinger is a high-level goalie. And I think I saw, or I don't think they call themselves Teledev as it is anymore. I think it's Mile High Hockey Podcast.
Hockey Mountain High.
Hockey Mountain High is what they call themselves now. They tweet out, it's like, if DeBoer loses Game 7, he still probably has a job. If he loses Game 7 to us, he probably still has a job. Right? Because think of the downfall of what happened after they beat us. Right, you struggle against Winnipeg, which you should have rolled over them very quickly. Right, you barely win one game against Edmonton. Edmonton just comes in and punks you very quickly. Right, and you have the whole Ottinger debacle. You have the whole locker room debacle where everyone's starting to question you. You lose Game 7 in a tough fashion. You're like, well, you know what? Colorado had a better team. But frankly, you could not have said that Edmonton was a far lesser team all regular season long than you, right? Obviously, they have McDavid, they have Draisaitl, 2 of the best players in the world, but their goalie situation is way better off than yours. or your goalie situation is way better off than theirs. Excuse me, right? Like you have the pieces, and if they lost earlier on in the playoffs, he would still be planning on next year, as opposed to getting embarrassed in the conference finals and then being out of a job, and probably going somewhere else next year.
Hey, I didn't think about that. We could be sitting here talking about the total opposite situation if that Game 7 goes the other way, because as good as I think Colorado is, you never know what's going to happen the longer these playoffs go, and who knows what other injuries happen or who stops scoring. But yeah, it could have been a totally different situation. That's going to be one of those sliding door moments in the future where you're like, oh shit, a butterfly flapped its wings and Pete DeBoer's out of a job.
And it's going to be a moment where we look back at Game 7 next year where we play Dallas in the playoffs again, because this shitty-ass playoff mode format. I'd be like,
thank God.
Pete DeBoer's not over there. We're going to win this game, and we do.
For the love of God, please. No, he's going to go to Vancouver, and they're going to be the wild card team that we see.
I mean, even if we get the wild card, who knows? But yeah.
Now that I've brought the mood down once again, what do we got for the end of the episode? I know that people aren't going to be hearing this. I said we would give an update, so I might as well do that. For the Stanley Cup Finals, we have the Florida Panthers in the third period, 12:38 left. They are up 5-1 on the Edmonton Oilers. So it's almost pretty safe to call that for Florida. I know that you normally should be able to. Crazy things happen, in 97 and 29 are still playing for Edmonton. So I'm not comfortable just yet, but it's getting there. I'm getting closer, Florida fans. I know that it seems like I don't give you that much respect. I just give a lot of respect to the other two guys in those sweaters. What do you got for the weekend?
I mean, look, I'll be in Philly. Beautiful little Philly. Was there last year for WrestleMania, and last year we lost in Philly, and it's going to be a big game on ESPN. So if you want to watch the Woods and Archers game on Friday night lacrosse is a lot of fun. If you're not doing anything Friday night, turn it on. If you're in a bar, ask the bartender to throw it on TV because it'll be on locally. Besides that, a big UFC card happened. The Sugar Show may be dead. So that brings a tear to my eye. I know you're laughing at that.
No, it's just it's a bad matchup. That happens.
I know, and Marab might be moving up now, and might be a whole situation. So maybe Sugar Show will get back. Kayla Harrison is the next Ronda Rousey. She is going to run through everyone in the division unless Amanda Nunes steps up to the plate. We'll see what happens there. The UFC card was really good this weekend. I was very excited for it. And the cards going forward are even going to get better. So, but yeah, if you're tuning in this weekend, Friday night, Saturday night lacrosse also. If you want to watch the Water Puppies against I believe it's the Outlaws. So on the second day they're back to back. So it's going to be great games all season long. So turn into the PLL. Also, I also tuned into Money in the Bank. That's why I'm wearing my Cena shirt. So I enjoyed it. All I'm saying is, I watched Monday Night Raw before we started recording, and this Cena versus CM Punk feud is going to feed the rest of my life.
Nico, don't I'm behind.
No, nothing's happened. They just stared at each other and said, I hate you, and that's about it. So it's nothing on crazy.
Shout out to the WWE Universe for getting R-Truth his job back.
Oh my God, WWE is just I love my comedy wrestlers. Comedy wrestlers feeds me. Like I grew up with comedy wrestlers. Like you had to laugh at stupid shit when you started watching wrestling at WrestleMania 27 when shit was really fucking shitty. But there's comedy wrestling all the way around, so you had fun with it. And I love my comedy wrestling. So R-Truth being back, it's great. It's great. Absolutely beautiful.
I'm excited to catch up on things.
Oh, do you think he knows he's back? Or maybe he just.
I saw so Bully Ray has a podcast, and I can't remember who he was talking. I think it was Mark Henry. They're like, it'd be hilarious for him to just go to the other shows and still think he's in WWE. Like, come out.
That'd be very funny.
What's up? Come out here, John Cena. It's like, somebody comes out. It's not WWE.
Calling every other the former WWE wrestler and other shows their other name.
Yeah,
that'd be great. It'd be hilarious. Is all I'll say.
Oh, I'm trying to think who's one.
Edge,
what you doing out here?
Edge, Sasha Banks,
Christian. Man, it's been a minute, Christian.
Just go down the list of it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, and then the
Big Show, Paul White. Who the hell is Paul White? Big Show.
Damn you, skinny Big Show.
The memes would have been fantastic, but I'm glad he's back in WWE.
It's weird. Like I think the product of the WWE is great right now. The weirdness with TKO as the ownership group and them looking at things
I will say, this Cena heel turn, it better have the greatest climax of all time because it's gotten tough. Is all I'm gonna say.
I like the tag. I think the tag team match was at least good.
It was good, but like if
they have to put him with people.
I got a 1 week build to Cena versus Orton the last time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a 2 week build, 3 week build for CM Punk for Cena, which I could have been the main event at SummerSlam. I got 2 fucking pay-per-view like things with him and Logan Paul together. Are you shitting me? Come on.
We're running out of appearances. I think we're down below 20 now, aren't we?
Oh, we're like 18 now. Like, what are we doing? Stop giving him bullshit. R-Truth thing, fine. That's fine.
Does he turn back before it's over?
He has to.
I feel like he has to.
I want him to lose it. And then like have a circle moment where he gets 20 because it was 17. He gets 18, excuse me. He gets 18. And then he passes it off or someone takes it from him again. That's what I want to happen because I want him to full circle moment. Give me babyface John Cena one more time. A little bit of a run.
I feel like
we have less than half the year left.
Yeah.
You said on the show we're closer to 2050 than we are 2000.
Yeah. I would like to see I'll give up babyface John Cena for a Thugonomics John Cena one more time.
I'll just do anything for the
have him rap battle Jey Uso. If you want to get Jey Uso over.
Just give me something. I don't know. Give me something like this.
No Logan Paul. Got it.
Give me Styles. Give me Punk. Give me Cody. Give me who else? Just not Logan Paul and not just random bullshit is all I'm going to say.
I'm thinking of a Wyatt 6.
Yes, I would like that with Bo Dallas. Yes.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that one a lot too.
Because that would also be the full circle moment. And that was the initial, I feel like that was the start of the heel turn because that was the guy that was telling you you're a fraud.
Yeah.
They don't love you. And now he's believing him. All right. Now that we've nerded out and we've gone a little bit longer than what we were expecting, enjoy the finals, enjoy the weekend. If you're out in Philly, say what's up to Nico. If you go to one of the PLL games for the Water Dogs, be sure to follow at FEOTB Pod, subscribe. Episode 234 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.